If you're a short-term rental host, you know that feeling, that nightly stress of trying to set your price. Go too high, and you're staring at an empty calendar. Go too low, and you're just leaving money on the table. Well, today, we're going to dive into how AI, and specifically a tool called PriceLabs, is trying to solve that exact problem for you.
So, let me just ask you, straight up, are you 100% sure you're pricing your rental correctly for every single night? It's a huge question, and honestly, it's the one that keeps so many hosts up at night.
And it's because most hosts, it doesn't matter if you have one property or 100, you're really struggling with the same two things. First, just figuring out that perfect price to get the most revenue without scaring everyone away. And second, the crazy amount of time it takes to constantly check the market and fiddle with your calendar. It can seriously feel like a full-time job.
And it really is a puzzle, isn't it? You've got seasonality, what day of the week it is, local events, what your competitors are doing, your own booking history. Trying to juggle all of that in your head, it's just a recipe for a massive headache, and let's be honest, a lot of missed money.
But this is exactly where an automated solution can come in and completely change the game. So today, we're breaking down PriceLabs, a tool that's designed to do all that heavy lifting of pricing for you. So, what exactly is PriceLabs? Well, it's a dynamic pricing platform, and they've been around since 2014, so they're not new to this. And the scale here is just massive. We're talking about over 60,000 hosts using it in more than 150 countries. And get this, it prices over 500,000 properties. The best way to think of it, it's kind of like an intelligent autopilot for your pricing.
Okay, so how does this autopilot actually fly the plane? It's not magic, right? It's a really sophisticated algorithm, but it boils down to a pretty clear, data-driven process.
It really breaks down into 3 key steps. First, the system sucks in all this hyperlocal market data. It knows about that big concert coming to town or that it's a slow Tuesday next month because it's scanning all the big booking sites. Then, it mixes that market data with your own listing's performance. Does your place usually book up fast, or do you have weird gaps? It learns your property's unique rhythm. And finally, it takes all that learning and pushes new, optimized prices to your calendar, automatically, every single day. Now here's the most important part. Even though it's automated, you're not just handing over the keys to the castle. You set what they call the base price. Think of this as your ideal average rate. It's your anchor. The algorithm then uses that anchor to intelligently move the price up for busy weekends and way down for slow weekdays.
And you are absolutely still the captain of this ship. You can set hard limits, like a rock-bottom price you'll never ever go below. You can customize all your minimum stay rules, create special discounts for those annoying one-night gaps. And here's the big one. You can manually override any price for any date you want. So the algorithm suggests, but you always have the final say.
All right, let's get real. Like any powerful tool, PriceLabs has some huge pros, but there are also a few cons that you definitely need to know about before you jump in.
The number one pro? More money. Plain and simple. The algorithm gives you the confidence that comes from data. I love this quote from a host who said PriceLabs suggested prices for a peak weekend that they wouldn't have had the nerve to set on their own. And because of that, what they thought was maybe a $300 night turned into a booked $800 night. That is the power of taking emotion out of the equation.
And that really gets to the heart of the trade-off here. On one hand, you've got the very real potential for more revenue and saving yourself a ton of time. But on the other hand, this is not a one-click magic button. There's a pretty steep learning curve, and it does require you to keep an eye on it.
And let's be really specific about those cons. For beginners, the interface with all its charts and settings can feel really overwhelming. And look, the algorithm isn't flawless. Sometimes it'll spit out a weird price that just makes you go, huh, and you have to go in and fix it. It's also super important to remember this is just for pricing. It doesn't handle your guest messages or cleaning schedules. And the biggest thing is you can't just set it and forget it. It works best when you check in every so often to see how it's doing.
Of course, PriceLabs isn't the only game in town. There are other big players out there. So, how does it really stack up against its main competitors, like Beyond and Wheelhouse?
Okay, let's break this down. One of the biggest differences is how you pay. PriceLabs is a flat monthly fee, which is awesome if your property earns a lot. Beyond, on the other hand, takes a percentage of your bookings. Wheelhouse actually lets you choose. But the ideal user part is where you really see the difference. PriceLabs is for that analytical host, the power user who wants to tweak every little setting. Beyond is more for the host who wants simplicity. And Wheelhouse?
It's fantastic for beginners because its interface is just so friendly and easy to use.
So, after all that, what's the big takeaway? It's this. PriceLabs is an incredibly powerful tool, but it is not a magic wand. It's not going to do everything for you. What it does is transform your pricing from a gut feel, hope for the best guessing game into a real, data-backed, strategic advantage. Which really just leaves us with one final question for you to think about. We called it an autopilot at the beginning, but maybe it's better to think of it as a co-pilot. It's doing all the complex math, but you're still the one in command, telling it where to go. So the question is, for your business, is an algorithm the right co-pilot?